Hello, I'm Simon Whistler, you're watching TopTenzNet, and in the video today we're looking at the top 10 weirdest fashion trends from all around the world. Number 10. Hitler chic.
Back in 2012, the city of Bangkok was invaded by Hitler. If you're wondering why you haven't heard anything about that, it's because this invasion has been into the world of fashion. Nowadays, Bangkok is said to be experiencing a veritable Hitler mania, with the image of the infamous German leader appearing in cartoon form on t-shirts, sweatshirts, posters, you name it. Ronald McDonald? Yes, Bangkok has a Hitler version of him as well, together with Hitlerized pandas and even the Teletubbies. Foreign correspondents explain that this modern trend can mostly be chalked up to ignorance rather than underlying fascist tendencies of the young people of Thailand, no different than the treasure trove of ethnic and homophobic slurs that is a typical internet message board here in the West. It appears no matter where you go, kids are just always going to be stupid. Oh, and while we're on that topic...
Number 9. Southern African Metalheads.
At the risk of generalizing, heavy metal has usually had problems with attracting audience members of African descent. Lately though, classic old-school metal fashion of the leather and chains variety has dominated the counterculture movement in the southern African nation of Botswana. Walking down the street in big cities and small villages, the Botswanan metalheads, clad in an entire cow's worth of black leather, create a peculiar sight in the country known for its wildlife parks. To them, as South African metal warriors explain, metal music and the culture surrounding it is all about power, strength and freedom, which means they thankfully haven't discovered corn yet. It's also why many of them give themselves nicknames like Demon or Gunsmoke. Well, that and no one ever having the guts to call them out on it.
Number 8. Gothic Lolitas.
Not to be confused with the Western meaning of the term, the Japanese Lolita is an extremely broad fashion subculture that emphasizes cute and stylish Victorian-era clothes. Its Gothic sub-style, probably the most famous of the group, is in turn all about darker Gothic aesthetics, which, in the hands of misinformed Japanese teens, basically boils down to faux vampire fashion as understood by a 15-year-old. Also, umbrellas, as in every other picture of a Gothic Lolita shows them holding an umbrella because without one they would all apparently look silly.
Number 7. Elf boots.
Pointy, long and kind of silly looking, those are not just the words used to describe Ron Jeremy's private parts, but also the details of a shoe craze sweeping Mexico. For unknown reasons, cowboy boots with elongated tips, sometimes fashioned from old garden hoses, have become the go-to fashion statement for young people south of the border. Why do they do it? It might just be a classic sign of peacocking, where males wear distinctive clothing to get the attention of the ladies.
Number 6. Meggings.
The question of whether the popular female leggings can successfully be worn in lieu of pants is still a hot-button issue among many women, but I believe we may have finally found an answer to that form in meggings, the male equivalent of leggings. And that answer is, for the love of God, please put some pants on. There really only are a few reasons why a man should stuff himself, and consequently his junk, into skin-tight, form-fitting clothing as thick as a pair of silk panties. And they are, he's in amazing shape, or he's a professional dancer/stripper, which you will notice describes less than 0.1% of the entire male population. And do we really need another piece of clothing specifically for good-looking people? We already have the entire fashion industry for that.
Number 5. Eye jewelry.
You know what body part often gets overlooked in the world of fashion? The eyes. Sure, you can paint around them or change their color with contact lenses, etc., but how often do you see some actual serious fashion being done to the eye itself? Almost never, because that's a terrible, terrible idea. Well, the Dutch seem to disagree. A technique that allows small studs made from precious metals to be inserted into the eye was developed more than a decade ago in Rotterdam, giving teenage girls everywhere an alternative to dating black guys to anger their parents. The Dutch claim that the procedure is perfectly harmless, while eye specialists argue that it is insane, also potentially dangerous. But come on, what is a little eye bleeding or risk of impaired vision when you get to wear a tiny, near-invisible heart or half-moon in your peeper? Don't answer that, but while we're on the topic of eye-related horrible ideas...
Number 4. Eye tattoos.
In all fairness, tattooing the cornea has been around for thousands of years and has valid medical applications specifically for people with scarred eye tissue. But the white stuff of the eye, the sclera, inserting dye and ink into that for kicks, is a relatively new thing, which is good because I hate to think that the human race has always been this fruity looped. Thankfully, eye tattoos are still mainly popular among the extreme body modification crowd, which sadly cannot be said about.
Number 3. Manba.
Oh Japan, why do you have to keep appearing on lists with weirdest in the title? Manba is a fashion trend popular among young Japanese girls who apparently date men with a minstrel show fetish. Manba is a variation on the popular ganguru subculture that basically emphasizes dark skin and heavy makeup, which stand in opposition to the classical Japanese aesthetics of beauty. Manba then takes that idea and cranks it up to 11, ironically ending up looking a million times sillier than Spinal Tap. Manba girls usually paint their entire faces a deep dark brown with 2 islands of white around their eyes to go with silver blonde dyed hair, pastel makeup, and day-glow clothing. Why? Well, because Japan.
Number 2. The face kini.
Speaking of classical beauty aesthetics from Asia, in China, many women apparently prefer to avoid getting a tan because their culture associates it with manual labor, which is apparently something to be ashamed of, I guess. Wait, isn't China supposed to be communist? What gives? Anyway, yeah, tans in China equals bad, but going to the beach equals good, and thus the face kini. Ta-da! A clever, read terrible play on the word bikini, the face kini has proven itself a hit among the female beachgoers on the East China Sea coast. Though it may look like a Halloween mask you find during a sale at the dollar store, the face kini is today an integral part of typical swimwear in China, as common as a swim cap or swimming goggles. Also common in China in a couple of years, child therapy sessions for kids suffering from night terrors involving faceless anthropomorphic sea monsters.
Number 1. Bagel heads.
Really, Japan? Again? Look, I know injecting saline into your forehead to make a sort of donut bagel shape is only popular among the body mod crowd in your country, but on the other hand, this entire sentence. Admittedly, the bagel forehead is only temporary as the saline eventually gets absorbed into the body, but the fact that more than one person has ever tried this, willingly no less, is still keeping me up at night. The obvious question isn't even why, but rather why a bagel? I mean, I get piercings and eye tattoos, but a bagel on your forehead? Why not a star or a cross? Did I miss something? Is this a clever meta-reference to The Simpsons? Is it some incredibly sophisticated anti-Semitic slur? Someone help me out here. Please, use the comments.
So I really hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please do give us a like below and don't forget to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button below the video right now if you haven't already. Also, over there on the right are a couple of other videos you'll probably enjoy if you enjoyed this one. One is the top 10 people who were too pretty for their own good, and below that we've got the top 10 famous moustache guys without their moustaches. So thanks for watching and be sure to like and subscribe.